Okay, so we're going to proactively parent with fathers and mothers getting actively involved in child training from birth. And another idea that we started to get to, we got too long on the last tape, but anyway, is the fact that if children are trained when they are young, they remember this because it's trained into them. It becomes a habit, becomes a lifestyle, becomes something that they intrinsically know. And you're not then having to teach hard lessons when they're older. Probably use the term 14 years old, but even when they're 6. I don't want to be teaching a 6-year-old to honor and obey his parents. He ought to have that well in hand way before he's 6. Otherwise, you've created a problem.
Well, last tape you were mentioning how much is formed by the time they're 2. If you haven't given them the notion that they should respect somebody else, namely their parents, before they're 2, you're really going to struggle with that after they're 2. And you may or may not get that done. You may get them to where they'll act like they respect. But I'm going to start questioning if you hadn't built that in soon enough, you're in for a rough time.
Now, I believe, which I think science, I believe biblically, I believe science and the study of social situations has confirmed this, but children probably need to have the formative stuff formed by the time they're 2, and then you reinforce these things, well, ultimately the rest of their life, but they're reinforced while they are a child or a youngster or a youth. Hopefully by the time they're 18, they're good citizens, and hopefully Christian good citizens if you've done your homework in that way. But you do not want to start that process late, which, well, anyway, many parents are neglecting all of that early training and then saying, well, once they're old enough to reason with, we will reasonably teach them how to be a good citizen after the fact. And that becomes like behavior modification and manipulation rather than what the Bible talks about for training a child.
Right. And we've mentioned this before, but if you're at the younger ages trying to substitute reasoning, that is talking with them, with the rod, the spanking, you're fooling yourself, because reasoning implies that there's a certain level of understanding right and wrong, moral things. That they understand the reasons behind. Reasoning means that there's reasons. When they're that little, they know how to talk. They can be cute. They can be precocious. You can have an interesting conversation with them. But at that age, they don't really understand what all that really means in life, and so you're not really reasoning with them. And you need to speak a language that they understand better, and the Bible says that it's the rod. And our experience has shown that that's what works.
You mentioned something about when they're cute and adorable and precocious. I think one of the things that stops parents from interacting in a healthy way as a parent is that they think their child is some kind of a sideshow that they're to be amused by. And I'll be the first to admit, kids can do the darndest things, which can sometimes be absolutely hilarious and very cute and humorous. And if you love your child, you may think they're funnier and cuter than anybody else in the world as far as that goes. But that's not your job. Your job isn't to be entertained by this adorable child. If you really want the child to be adorable, you're going to have to train them. Because while they're really cute when they're little and they're doing some types of things, that will cease to be cute later on. So you don't have the luxury of just laughing it off. Isn't it sweet that little Johnny pulled his sister's hair clean out? Or isn't it cute that, whatever little Johnny drowned the cat in the pond or whatever? It's not cute. It's wrong. And they have to be trained. But again, many times it's dads with little daughters that they think she's just so adorable and so cute they can't bring themselves to be stern with that child and deal with them appropriately when they do naughty things. And the same thing could be with any gender of child, but I have noticed sometimes dads can go softer on little girls, and maybe sometimes moms go softer on little boys, or their firstborn, or whatever their excuse is. I don't care what your excuse is. The thing is, no matter how adorable and precious they are, that's maybe the hardest time. You have to be more disciplined, but you've got to train them, even though they're adorable. Come on, Dad, you got to engage so that little child has a daddy, not just someone to amuse, because you're not necessarily there for that reason.